Welcome to the Maya Thumbhole Sleeve Pattern Sew-Along. This is a pattern giveaway, so if you don't have this pattern yet, go to shesayssew.com and download your free copy. The first thing we're going to do is print out the pattern and tape together the two pieces. This is an easy pattern. It comes in 5 sizes actually now. This is the fold line for each size, and that's where you'll be choosing the pattern size you want, and that's the sewing line on the left with a dot that tells you where to end. We'll talk about that more later. Choose the size you want and let's get it cut out. Cut out the pattern piece. Pick your fabric. You will be cutting 2 of these patterns on the fold. This is what the finished sleeve looks like. It's a real simple pattern, suitable for beginners. Even a child could sew this pattern with a little adult supervision. Lay your fabric out, again on the fold, and carefully cut around the edge in your desired size. You will need to cut 2 to make a pair of sleeves. This is the sewing line, and you're only going to sew to the circle. Now, since we have a knit fabric, we need to decide what is the best way to sew and finish the seam. Go to your sewing machine, choose a large zigzag or a edge stitch. You can see a couple of choices on my machine. And be sure, if you have a fabric selector, to choose knit. Here is an example of what the large triple zigzag will look like. I'm going to sew this on a sample piece of fabric at the very edge. I'm not going to sew all the way. I just want you to see what this finishing stitch looks like. Now we're still going to need a joining stitch inside this line, but this is for the edges of your garment. Okay, that's just going to neaten up those raw edges. So here's the sewing line and the circle. I'll mark it so I know where to stop. That seam will require the finishing stitch you just chose from your machine, plus a tiny zigzag which will serve as the joining stitch. Let's take a closer look. Here you can see the tiny zigzag plus the finishing stitch. Of course, if you have a serger, you can use that. Take the cuff edge, fold it under twice, very narrow, and pin. This cuff part will stay open. Do you see how I folded it twice and pinned? Do the same for the other side. Once you're done pinning, you'll need to take this over to your sewing machine and stitch this open side of your cuff down. You can see there's 2 sides. I used a wide zigzag or a triple zigzag on my cuff, but you could use any stretch stitch. This is where you want to sew down each side. This is not a continuous line of sewing. So you'll need to take it out of your machine and do it on both sides. Here's what it looks like when it's done. It's just simply zigzagged down. Okay, let's turn this inside out, and we need to try it on for size, or we can estimate how it'll fit if you're sewing this for someone else. Put the cuff on and cross the open edges that you just sewed, one over the other, on your palm. The seam should line up with your thumb. Okay, so cross those edges over, making it as snug or as loose as you like. When you've decided how snug you want it, mark that area. Take note of that. We're going to pin that edge, and then we're going to baste that cuff edge together before we finish it. You'll be sewing where these 2 raw edges are, just next to the edge, a very simple basting stitch. All the way around, just sew between the 2 pins. Here's what the cuff looks like with that edge basted down. Now we're going to finish this cuff edge. I'm going to clean it up a little bit if there's anything sticking out, any seam allowance. We'll fold this under twice, just like we did before, pin it, and finish this raw edge. You can add as many pins as you need. If you like, you can even just fold it under once. It's really up to you how much bulk you want at that edge that's in the palm of your hand and on the back of your hand. Pin it down securely, take it to the machine, and finish it with a nice wide zigzag or a triple zigzag. That's folded once, or you can fold it twice. In mine, I'm going to go ahead and fold it twice. I just think it looks neater. Here's what it looks like when you've zigzagged that raw edge down. I'll go ahead and try it on so you can see where we are so far. Turn it inside out, slip your hand in, and try it on for size. We're going to repeat the operation on the opposite end of the sleeve, and we're done. This is what the pair looks like. I want to make a trial sleeve to see which fits you best. The sleeve on your right is a large. The sleeve on your left is a small. I like the small fit better, but it's really a matter of personal choice. Some people like a really snug fitting sleeve and others want a nice loose sleeve. Also remember the choice of fabric will affect the size because a thicker knit or sweater-like fabric will require you to choose a larger size. But don't they look great? Enjoy your sleeves. Make some pairs for some friends and family. They make great gifts. And thank you for sharing your time with me today with this Sewalong. If you enjoyed the free pattern and you like the Sewalong, please hit like and subscribe, and I'll keep sending you cool things to make, tips and tricks on how to do it easier and better, and free patterns too. Have a great day.